Starting lineup: Ezreal, Warwick, Lady C, Ashe, Lux. Up against illaoi, Talon, Y, Caitlyn, Jinx. Rating of the picks for a casual game: Ezreal as a top, 0. Warwick in the jungle, 8. Lady C as a mid, 8. Ashe as a shooter, 6. Lux in support, 6. Talon in the jungle, 7. Y as a mid, 6. Caitlyn as a shooter, 10. Jinx in support, 0. And it looks like the moment has come for me to feast on Marksman Yusi in the top lane. Make sure to watch that spectacle, as I've already pontificated upon how unbecoming it is to play Marksman in the top lane. The picks: Talon is that one that I have trouble putting a number on. I know I did, but for me, Talon and Zed because of his infinite potential and because it's almost kind of icky when casuals play him, and Talon because I myself no-lifed on Talon for like 3 weeks straight, almost not taking a break from the game in the jungle. And it just makes me wonder, in the end, I think that the added mobility of Talon just cannot compensate. The meaning of Talon is essentially speed. If you wanted to race, nobody can get all the way from the bottom to all the way up top quicker than Talon. That means that you could theoretically come from any angle and that you could theoretically help out in every lane. Talon has a unique talent to out-farm other people in the jungle because of his speed. He doesn't have to waste time maneuvering around. He can just hop over anything and it costs no mana and it has no cooldown. This person playing Talon was a smurf. I myself learned how to play from somebody who mained Talon. He's really not much of a casual pick because of the fact that you have to manipulate that speed exactly right. A lot of his abilities are goofy and his body is very squishy. His foundation is very squishy. So you really have to get everything out of that speed by itself. Oddly enough, though, he's also not much of a pro pick, so I don't really know where to put him. I suppose that Talon falls to those people who are trying to rank up and compete and know better than most people in reality, but never reach the top. Moving on. The debut honestly shocked me. The elevated auto attack from Ezreal, in combination with being without any shopping behavior in which I will make far better choices than my enemies. Shopping is what I'm best at in League of Legends. I almost always have better items than my enemies. And so all the way in the beginning, it is very clear that to compensate for that monstrous territorial control with the tentacles, they made sure that illaoi has nowhere near high natural armor. That is very clear. You can actually not just tank it all the way in the beginning with illaoi. Not a lot of natural armor on her for a warrior type. And so after that, of course, the shop comes into play. I take what I make after the first kill and I come back with Bramble Vest, and now everything that your elevated basic attack is doing has to go through the filter of Bramble Vest, a vehemently underrated item. The second kill is unique to this Ezreal's playstyle, who believes, apparently, that the point of Ezreal is to get really close, and so she shifts in with her blink-like ability, upon which all the tentacles land on the same spot, and she gets completely smashed because I don't know where on earth you get the idea that in order to win with Ezreal, you have to blink in or blink at your enemy. That may be true when you're chasing a dying target, but when you're going up against a tank, I don't know what you're blinking in for. This will happen repeatedly throughout this game. Is Ezrael for some reason jumping me with Blink? You don't really know why you want to get as close as possible. So in the second one, she gets as close as possible and all the tentacles come together. And in the third one, we see some of Ezrael's reactive personality here from the player, as well as some of that tentacle delivery magic. And you never quite know where they're going to go. On the wall, on the turret, up your rear end, there's always a tentacle surprise in store. And it would be interesting to run a Darius in the exact same situation here, because it actually kind of shocked me how close Ezrael got in the first clash. Ezrael has a lot of good timing and momentum when it comes to the minions in this trade. Successfully 6 like 10 of them on me, and once I reach level 6, I have learned by now to let that ultimate go every single time it's up after I land my spirit spell, which is going to maximize the amount of tentacles in your vicinity, because every time the spirit dies, a new tentacle will follow you around. And a new cutesy couple has been formed. From now on, like in almost any other game, I'm going to get double teamed, as our friend Warwick will join us. And you're gonna see some kill stealing from Talon here, which is one of the reasons why casuals do not love him. The combination of Talon's underwhelming natural stats with the fact that he has extreme speed make kill stealing for him second nature, and something you will see on any accomplished Talon player. And not infrequently, when you have a smurf like this Talon on your team, the mindset is, I have to go and play 5 games with noobs on this separate account, and if I'm not dominating every game, then I know I suck. Little bit of a self-imposed exercise and test. A bit later on, and as Ezrael keeps getting hit by everything, which is kind of impressive when you think about the natural mobility that she has. One of the most mobile champions. So if you're gonna dodge my S on anything, it's gonna be something like Ezrael that can blink around. But no need for concern, because once Talon is gone, we get some excellent sock blocking from Warwick. And so it goes, and I have to retreat up the lane. The 2 lovebirds are going to walk up on me here, and they're mostly going to pretend like the level difference doesn't exist. And upon reflection, their main conclusion is that they're just going to walk into any of my spell effects. And so I smash. Warwick, who apparently conceived of the notion that jungling is all about visiting somebody's lane, is going to use the fact that he's a jungler as an excuse to go to the mid lane, because after all, he's not assigned to the top lane. And Ezrael is going to say, "Aw, me too." He will then eventually come back. I'm going to retreat up the lane to give Y and Talon a gank opportunity. Talon is going to make use of his ultimate burst Lady C down, and the 3 of us, illaoi, Y, Talon, will then converge and collapse on the bestest of friends in Warwick and Ezrael. And what is consistent throughout these plays is that Team Blue mostly made up an idea in their head about what Thornmail does, what Koenig does, what their abilities do, what their level gap does. And they fantasized something that they liked, and then they pretty much just hoped that it would become reality. But this is not how League of Legends operates. Trying to burst me down when I'm completely armored up and 3 levels higher than you may be a beautiful idea in your head, but that's not actually going to happen. Lady C stands her ground and doesn't run away. Ezrael stands his ground and doesn't run away. The only one who runs away is Warwick, who is the only one who doesn't have added mobility. Lady C has inherently higher movement speed without boots, and Ezrael has a blink, but they are going to tank it. We have Ezrael opting for late stage warrior game items, Lady C going all out offensive, and Warwick only has boots because he was starting to put an item together, most likely a Hydra, and then he changed his mind and started putting other items together, so he has nothing. And I am myself a person who spends relatively quickly, and so perhaps I shouldn't judge spending behavior, but it does really not help that you wanted to be the belle of the ball here, and you went after the most expensive Ezrael and Warwick outfits so that you could be the star of the game, and you're getting beat up by Big Bertha, and you should at least consider to treat skins as a kind of medal of honor and only get them when you're actually certain that you resonate with a champion, because it clearly makes you look like a bigger fool here. It would be the difference between me not being able to drive and then me borrowing a bunch of money to get a bunch of Ferraris and then not being able to drive. It doesn't make your situation less ridiculous here. It doesn't make you any less ridiculous. When you choose to change lanes like this, you should always change over gradually. For example, when you're leaving the mid lane, you don't go Lady C, Ezrael, and Warwick are all now gonna go and fight enigmatics at the same time in the top lane. Because now you have no vision anymore and no real clue anymore on what goes on in the mid lane. This is why it's possible to surprise you like this, and why and Talon are waiting in the jungle to ambush you. It would be much smarter to leave one person over there, so in this case Lady C came over first. You then have Ezrael coming over. Warwick should have kept himself to the mid lane, and that way if they were going to try to gank, you could tell. But now that everybody came over at the same time, they have no clue what is going on in the mid lane anymore, because there's nobody keeping an eye on it, so everybody on my team goes and hide in the jungle, and you get completely destroyed. So these three are sticking together in Lady C, Ezrael, and Warwick. Let's break these item choices and types down. You have two squishies in there and one heavy. The heavy type has shoes and then pretty much nothing else. One of the squishy types has burst warrior items, and the other squishy is an all-out offensive mage. So let's try to redo this and craft this into something that would make sense, like in an army. So what if, for example, you had given Warwick only heavy plating and magic resist so that he could push everybody back and be unkillable? What if you had given Lady C half plating and then some magic attack so that she could go back and forth between shooting and being in melee, and half tanking it? And what if you had given Ezrael a weapon so that she could shoot? So in that way you would have a wall, a piece of cavalry, and a piece of artillery. You think that may help? Maybe, potentially, possibly? Yeah, but why? That's not working either. So, when it's not working out for us, we just do the same thing that we did before. We just say F the team, and so I'm going to pretend like I play mid now, in emotional confusion. And this beautiful boy is going to run to the mid lane, and I have to give the props to my man Y here. Literally has the ultimate ready for her, so this poor thing goes to the mid lane to get away from me, and the first first thing he sees, he gets completely blasted with the ultimate. It's the first thing that he sees. He arrives in the mid lane to get his free lunch, gets blasted with all of Y's magical might, and essentially pretty much one shot, which is just about as beautiful as it could possibly be in retribution for abandoning your team. And then we get the Ezreal tank special, because just like earlier in the game, we've come to the conclusion that the way Ezreal defeats illaoi is by blinking into him, and so apparently he's going to intimidate me by blinking at me, astral shift or whatever, and the tentacles are going to converge again, crushing the spirit and some of that booty on the way out. Eventually, the added magic effect arrives at the running, chases him down, and he dies in full flight. Final play here. Little bit of a reflection of the League community. We're gonna have Talon, the Smurf account, porting back to the fountain to take care of his KDA so that he can tell himself as the Smurf, don't worry, my record is still fine. I dominated this game. We're gonna have Jinx, the support, being incredibly supportive here. Don't you just love this supporting? Look at this supporting. And I fail here. This is half my fault, and then half the fault of the running off to Narnia again, in that there is such a fragmentation in the player base that Caitlyn doesn't even consider the possibility of hiding behind me and running toward me. That's partially her own fault, and then me, I missed an opportunity here to jump in earlier, and I didn't provide the protection here that I could have. And this is how the weasels end up defeating the lions. Because of course, if Jinx was committed to shooting and Caitlyn was still up, and that's a French boy, believe me, he would be shooting. And Y is still up and he has his AoE. Even when Talon is taking care of his little KDA, we are still taking their basses here. But that is not what is happening. Naturally, you have Caitlyn conditioned to trust no one because of the player base, and so she's gonna run off to Narnia, get clapped. We have Jinx, no comment really. We have Y, who took too many hits because I didn't do my job as a tank. And then fundamentally, I myself decided to protect whatever was left. And I had to deal the damage by myself, which if we had had two damage dealers, we could have pushed them back all the way here. But because of the fact that I had to deal the damage myself, we went down. And it's that Mel Gibson moment. If you take all the twigs in your hands at once, you can't break them, but if you take them in your hand one by one, they snap immediately. And if only for a brief moment, they can have the satisfaction of the illusion that they could have beaten us. And the tentacles are really almost a non-factor in this play. What you see primarily is my excellent build for illaoi, which is the reason why I'm able to stay up. If we could have moved this fight somehow with a little more team coordination to the top lane, this would have been easy mode. illaoi is a territorial champion and I have nothing to work with here. Taking a look at the scoreboard here, we have the homie Ezreal trying out something new. Trying that on, daddy, and also going with the ability power here. Well, do you, homie? We have our friendly neighborhood German boy here who's going to tough it out and go the hard way. Does this make sense? This doesn't make sense, right? He did this last moment because he thought that it wouldn't matter probably to put this together, but actually that doesn't make any sense, does it? Because it would be cheaper to put this together than to get this. So why did you sidestep it and go Zeal? Because you don't need Zeal, right? Or am I mistaken? You don't need Zeal to put together Ruined King, right? So he's got Ruined King going here. Why didn't you just finish it? It would have been cheaper to finish it than the sidestep. This was a smurf, so if you guys are interested in jungling on Talon, just learn from this guy a little bit. There's no casual who can play like this. It's completely impossible. Talon is pretty difficult, although he's not all the way pro. So if you go 10, 1, and 6 without assistance, like this is probably a German boy who comes from a much higher rank and wants to play against weaker players. So this is pretty much going to be as accurate as you're going to put things together. I would always argue, like, don't use Yomu and Ionian at the same time or simultaneously, but you see that a lot, so I'm not gonna argue with this guy. This guy is from a higher rank. We see a lot of kills being made here up top. We have Caitlyn here who played her game and stuck to her lane. And you can tell that she went very deep here very early in game. You have that superior range on Caitlyn. Caitlyn much more casual friendly than Ashe. Champions who are really in a lot of ways similar. The stopping power of Caitlyn is traded in for utility with Ashe, which makes Ashe popular with the pros. But as I always say, offering utility as a shooter, that is really what Ashe is known for. Is that really something that you're into as a casual? Or do you just like girls that are really, really white? Like from Scandinavia or from the old Germany? Do you just like girls that are really, really white? Because it doesn't seem to me like there's any... Put it to you this way, like, what if I told you tomorrow that Leona would become one of the most popular characters in the video game? Would you believe me? Probably not, right? Because how many people are into that? She's purely about serving, about offering utility, right? Ashe, for a shooter, really about as subservient as it gets. Her entire point is to encase everybody in frost, right? In a frozen shell for moments so that they cannot move, during which her team can just go wild on the enemy. Which means that essentially her highest purpose is holding the enemy in place for her team. And since they gave her that power, they really didn't give her awesome, mega, super stylish killing power. Because you see, there is something called game balance. That's why you will find for most people that Ashe sucks so much. That Ashe is really a weak champion is because they're looking, as I said from video number 1, they're looking from Kalashnikov woman, and in reality what they're getting is Leona with a bow. Moving on.
The waves will drag you down unless you fight to shore. You will be tested. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Another leader round seized today, and you earn tomorrow. The ocean is calm. It is our desires that stir it. If I hate something, I destroy it. If I want something, I take it. don't scare, I don't tire, and I don't stop. What you desire, you must take. There is joy in food and fighting. We never stop. You stagnate. Each lifetime is a spirit. Each lifetime is a chance. Take it. Blood. It is here. Only what moves, only what lives has value. Now we begin.
Slain an enemy.
There are kind and gentle gods. Mine isn't one of those. How could I love only one man? He breaks too easily.
An ally has been slain.
The sea is ripe for battle.
Give me a
They must be tested to grow. The truth! Now! You have given the tools to know your destiny. Your spirit is held.
An enemy has been slain.
Oi. Jarnal.
To live is to fight.
No.
Many die. Worthy souls find new forms. I value truth and bark.
An enemy has been slain.
Without change, something shifts inside us and self awakens. Bahrula. I like this. I should buy everyone one of these. Motionless. My name is illaoi. You are not in motion. This ends one of
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
You are not one soul. We are many.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Right.
Turret plating will soon fall.
Be careful, some things. So drowned. Fight. chase dreams.
Rampage. An enemy has been slain. Unstoppable.
Chase what is desired.
An enemy has been slain.
I am a teacher. Bilgewater will learn. This is a great day. Feel this day. Nagake born. Action done.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
All of us are born stones.
Unstoppable. Dominating. Double kill. Has been slain. Ace.
My God doesn't want
Your team has destroyed a turret.
spades.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Things should be held only when we need them. Learn! Many gods act for good. They are gods.
Killing spree. Godlike.
This is the first lesson.
Godlike. Double kill. Aced. Your team has destroyed a turret.